Hi, I'm Angela Moore with 6 Degrees SEO and Mobile Marketing, and thanks for inviting me to speak to you today. So one of the great things about technology is things are always changing, right? And what I love right now is how everybody's adopting mobile strategies. One of the exciting things about it for me is that I still come across people who aren't sure about that internet thing, and they're kind of still waiting for that to take off so that they can decide whether or not to really use it. And one of the great things now is people who kind of missed that boat have a chance to get on this new boat, and the fact that mobile has been taking off even faster than where the internet was at its same level in time is amazing. So I don't think it'll take as many people that long. I think there'll be a lot more early adopters and less laggards to kind of jump on the mobile bandwagon. And with the amount of choices that they have to get started with mobile marketing, it really gives them a better understanding, because I can't imagine anybody that, let's say a restaurant owner, who doesn't see everybody in there on their phone. Or I would venture to guess that each one of you has a phone on you now, right? So it's just that we all know that that's where things are going. More people even have mobile phones now than a PC. So it sort of levels the playing field, in my opinion, for people who are able to untap into certain resources or compete with others that might have had more money. So if they can jump in now and get started, they have a really great shot of increasing their bottom line, increasing their brand awareness, and their loyalty. So I'm going to talk to you about a few different things on just some of the different options that people have with mobile. And of course there's going to be visibility and brand loyalty. Mobile websites is the foundation. Mobile directories, QR codes, text messaging, mobile apps, and then a couple of other things as well. So we will just run in and get started. So eMarketer has forecasted that the average consumer spends 65 minutes a day on their mobile phones, which was a huge increase. And if you compare that to the other forms of media that people are spending their time on, you can really see the difference. And when people are seeing the numbers, I think they get it a little better if it's quantifiable. So now, if you're like most of the population, you're never more than 4 feet away from your phone. And I mean, some of the things that I read across how often people take their phone, the things they do when they've got their phone that they think are acceptable are quite astounding. People have it in their bathrooms, their bedrooms, everywhere they go. And it's even been said that people would rather get advertising on their phone than through any other method. Specifically, they're willing to get ads even on their phone if they can get something for free. So this year they were able to determine that there was a 200% increase of people who were using their phones on Black Friday. And I know we do that all the time. I remember going to Best Buy looking for a new camera, and we're sitting there on the phone going, well, is there any place else we can get this at a better price? So people are really doing that in stores as well. And Gartner says that there's going to be more phones than PCs by 2013. And I actually remember reading earlier, a few months back, that they predicted that by 2015 it was going to take over. And then just a couple months later it was, oh no, now it's 2014. So I think that number is just going to keep going down, down, down. And more people are obviously going to be accessing the internet just on their phones. So for brand loyalty, SMS, we know that people text all the time, and it's a far better system now than email because people are so desensitized to that. And being able to connect with your customers where they're at all the time is just, it's huge. And so many people are used to now opting into lists and getting deals. So it's just a great way to stay in front of your customers. And I know you probably can't see this, but I want to jump into mobile websites. And some people don't know, a lot of the people I talk to anyway, don't even know that they can check the amount of visitors they have from a mobile device. Or they don't know how to look for mobile search. And you're probably all familiar with the Google keyword tool. I'm guessing, because this looks like a really bright group. So inside the Google keyword tool, there is, when you're looking for devices searched, you can look specifically just at mobile. And I was talking to a national education company last week, and they knew that something was going on. They knew that do we need a mobile website? Maybe we need a mobile site. I said, well, let's go look at your metrics. Let's go check out the Google keyword tool. And he didn't even realize that he could search just from mobile. So just from mobile in 1 month, they had over 4,600 visitors, but they had a 90% bounce rate. Why? Well, because their website does not look good on a mobile phone. And your analytics are going to tell you that as well. So they're going to tell you, what pages people are coming in. The same way you can check your analytics for your regular site. So most of the mobile sites now, you can add your analytics code on there, and it'll give you those metrics to track as well. So again, if somebody's really not sure, the first thing I tell them is look at Google keyword, see how many people are even doing searches. So for this, go back to this company again, for instance, there were thousands of searches for the types of courses they offered, course-specific searches on a mobile phone. So it makes sense for them to have a course-specific mobile site instead of just a bigger site, because we know the psychology is that if somebody is willing to click 3 times on a desktop, they'll only tap twice on their phone. So I really try to drive home that point with people so they can understand. I was sitting with a plumber and he's like, yeah, but look, I can see my site. And he's zooming out so many times. I'm like, you're the only one who's going to do that. No one else is going to go through that much trouble. They're just going to click their back button and they're going to look for somebody else's whose site's much easier to see. So they've noticed that about 78% of mobile users will go back to a site more than once. Less than 78%. So websites that aren't optimized for mobile are going to give people a bad experience. And it's a lose-lose situation for everybody. And if somebody doesn't have a smartphone to check, there's an emulator that they can download on their PC. There's one specific one called Mobilizer. So if you're talking to somebody and maybe you only have a Droid but you don't have an iPhone, you can download that emulator on their desktop or on your laptop, take it with you, and say, here's what your site looks like here. And especially if they have Flash, which we know iPhone's never going to support, or if they've got large graphics, they can really, once they see it, it's really, it really gets in their face. So here's an example of what a mobile site would look like that was transformed from a regular site. So as Firehouse says, nobody would ever be able to see that. It's too much. And the psychology, the mindset, the intent is so much different for mobile phone users. So we know they're looking for different types of information. We know that 50% of all the searches are for local businesses. And we know that 40% are for restaurants. So if you just give them what they're looking for, let them see your menu, your hours, tap to call, that sort of thing, you're going to get a much better conversion rate and get people in your doors. So you want to have it simple. You don't want to have it flashy. You don't want to have people have to go through too many steps to find the information they want. You want your contact information and your business details to be readily seen. And for restaurants, obviously they want a menu. So we know that mobile search has twice the intent to purchase. And across all age ranges, the likelihood that someone will buy is 3 times higher than when they're just on a PC. Again, it's just a different psychology. And you've probably all seen that. What type of search do you do on your mobile phone? What type of search are you doing on your PC? So, if you guys even really search on your PC. Probably not. So we know that 40% of people who were, and this is with regard to local search, 40% of people who were looking for something local on their phone, when they found that, they went to the business. And over 25%, or over 20%, I think it's about 22% actually made a purchase. So if they can't find you, they're not going to visit you, and they're definitely not going to be able to buy from you. So with regard to mobile directories, this is important for people who are looking for, like Foursquare is, I think of it still as a directory. It's a social directory, review directory, where people can check in. But they just have similar benefits. So even if you don't have a huge mobile budget, you can still get, there's people that are in directories, for instance, that don't even have a website. So it's the same translation to mobile. If you can at least get your information in a mobile directory for your industry, at least you're going to be found, and that's a good first step while you're waiting to build the rest of your mobile campaigns. You can also have offers on there, and it's really based on directory to directory how much you can do. The more active you are, the more credible you are, the more people are going to see your business. And Google does that too. So it's the same, for instance, when Google Places came about, they would look to see how many citations you had everywhere else on the web. So they want your name, address, and phone number to match everywhere else. So there might even be a restaurant right now that doesn't have a regular website. In fact, I'm doing one for somebody just, and then came across my path. Where, you have all these extra little things. You can become the mayor of your favorite restaurant, which I always wondered about that. The mayor. Let's see, what's my favorite restaurant? I don't know. I'd have to go pick one. And then all sorts of other encouraging offers. The crowdsourcing and bring a friend, or your first time here, you get 25% off. So it's a great way to connect with people and get the buzz out about any specials you have, or just even fill your tables on a slow night. But it'll work for other situations too. So when people are viewing on mobile directories, they're looking to contact someone fairly immediately. So you want to make sure you have reviews. And I see it all the time where people don't even realize they have bad reviews. In fact, I just came across this situation recently where this company was like, wow, all these people are saying all these bad things about me I didn't even know. But people don't know what they don't know. So it's kind of our job to educate them. So if you do a search, or if you're working with any businesses, or even your own business, please do keep mindful of how many reviews that are out there, respond to them right away. And one of the benefits of mobile and reviews is we know that you can't have a dedicated computer at your place of business and ask your customers to leave a review, because you'll just get sandboxed from having all these reviews come from the same IP address. But if they have a mobile phone, that's a little bit different. So, when they're walking out, you can say, hey, here's a review card, could you go and leave us a review on this directory, and you can put different directories in there, because you don't want to send everybody to the same directory all at the same time either. So switch that up with Yelp and Super Pages and Google Places. And then if you're restaurants, you want to have like Urban Spoon and things like that. So the mobile directories offer options to add an offer there too. So you want to do that for the ones that allow that, because it just gives your company a way to stand out. People are always looking for deals, they're always looking for discounts. And the more that you cater to your customer base, obviously the better off you're going to be. So quick response code. So I love this because there's so many people who still don't know what it is or how to use it. There's a lot of businesses that are like, well, yeah, I know, I kind of know what that is. Or if you show them, they understand it even more. But I love QR codes. I think there's so many great options. I was working with an IT company, an IT software company, and they do these conferences with Symantec, and they have these hour-long demos, and they're trying to squeeze it down to 15 minutes. But when you're at a conference, you're not going to stand at one booth, even for 15 minutes, and watch that entire demo. I don't care how good the product is. These guys are either in Las Vegas and they just want to get around and get the free food and get as many free things as they can. Kind of have a different attitude. But if you have your demo and just say download the demo on demand in your QR code, that's great. Or if you have, people opting into your list through your QR code, that's great. Don't just sit there and fill out a form, or because they always have the thing where you drop your business card in the bucket or the fishbowl and do the drawing at the end of the night. And so there's so many different options of what you can do, whether it's leading people to your Facebook page. For realtors, I have a specific campaign where if somebody's driving by a house and you've got all those little mailer holders on there, the flyer holders, well, if they're calling your office, you're going to ask their name and their phone number and how to get a hold of them. So these flyers, you really don't know what they're doing with them. How many times do they end up in the garbage? Or what if your flyers are out? But if you have a QR code right on the flyer and on the holder in case the flyers are out, they can actually scan that QR code. They can see a virtual tour of the house. They can go straight into the realtor's list. It can say, find more properties like this. There's just so many options. And you've probably seen a ton out there. People are really trying to adopt it. They're still trying to figure out how to use it for their business. So you kind of got to find a campaign that makes sense for each industry. So yes, surprising range of use. A little ahead of myself. So again, oh, this one, I love this one. So imagine if you're at a trade show and you could do a little scavenger hunt with QR codes. That'd be kind of fun. So I just always try to think of something different that somebody can use. You can have your QR code. I think I've even seen them now on top of the pizza boxes and just so many different options. So one of the things that I do is make sure that people understand the difference between what you can do with a free QR code generator and a paid QR code generator. So if they really want to track their metrics, to really see what's going on, they need to use one of the paid for QR code generators instead of the free ones. So you can build your list of mobile subscribers, send people to your Facebook page, and you can go green. So that's one of the things we were doing with an air conditioning company. So it was great to be able to say, or even car companies that want to do it, even though that's kind of a hard marriage right there. But it's a great way to say that you're promoting going green. Just scan this code instead of filling out all this paper. No more entry forms, again, no paper. So you can have freebies, discounts. Has anybody in here used a QR code yet for their own company? Or scanned one from somebody else's company?
Well,
there we go.
So if you look on the signs all around town, Bookwoods has one that says geeking out is half the fun, and they got the QR code.
Okay, yeah. So
we never thought of it as something we'd use, it just looks cool.
it just looks cool.
Yeah.
Well, there are some, I saw some great examples of ways that people are misusing QR codes just in their design. And I always love it when people think they're trying to reinvent the wheel or try to make it look so much better. Don't do that. Just make it standard. There are people that are putting all these colors in it and trying to make it different, and it just confuses the consumer, and it doesn't look good. So it's just like when people try to change their navigation on the website. It's like, no, one of my favorite books I read a long, long time ago when I was first getting involved in website redesign was Don't Make Me Think. And it was just kind of getting in the mindset of your consumer. The less you make them think for what they need to do, the better off you're going to be. And the same with QR codes. They're already confused on this technology enough, and they're still trying to adopt it. So don't make it so that it's an ugly QR code or make it different. So same with keeping your website navigation simple. Oh, text messaging, one of my favorites. Okay, so by 2012, an estimated 10 trillion messages will be sent. 10 trillion. I can't even fathom that much. I'm trying to think if I've ever known of 10 trillion anything, and I don't. But it's a great way to capture your customers' information. It's a really easy campaign to implement, and customers can just text their name to your list. You can have a keyword. Some have a short code, some don't. Short codes are typically more expensive, and people don't understand that. So that's something that if somebody's ever asking you about, why can't I have this? Well, you can, but it's typically going to cost you like $3,000 more, and that's every 3 months. So when they look at it that way, they might want to use a long code. Plus, a lot of the carriers will block the short codes now. They want something specific for them. So if you're going to use a text messaging platform that does that, use one that will recognize it and deliver the long code instead, and Sprint's one specifically. So it's a great way to reach a large group of people. You can do on-demand broadcasts just like you would do for email. You can do auto reminders. You can do a scheduled message. So, and it's very cost effective. So it's a lot more effective. Again, people have said that they would rather receive a text message than email these days. And if it's time sensitive, we know that people are going to open up the message even faster. So the text messaging, I get coupons all the time for, who is it for? It's for sweet tomatoes, because I love sweet tomatoes. So I get coupons from them all the time, and I have to print them out, and then I have to take them. Or I'll have somebody who gave me one of the coupons in the mail, and I'm thinking, oh, we'll go here. I've got a coupon. I want to try this place. And then I left it on my counter. And so when we're out, I'm going, I don't know if I really want to try that place without a coupon, because what if it's bad? So if you've sent that message to me and I've got it on my phone, then I don't have to worry about if I left it at home or not, and I'm still gonna probably come and see if I can get a good meal from you, or whatever the other deal was. So it's a great way to, with restaurants I love it because if you already know that you're going to be slow on Tuesdays, you can set up a message that says, hey, join us this Tuesday and we're going to give you this. If it's, you have an unexpected slow Friday night, you can do an on-demand message and say, come in tonight and the first 5 people are going to get a free appetizer. If it's a service-oriented business, I get calls almost every year, I think, if I make an appointment with the dentist and then they have a cancellation and you're on their list. And it's like, oh, do you want to come now? We've got an opening. And I'm thinking, I don't know, what am I doing right now? And I'm thinking, how many times, how many calls can that woman make during a day? It's a finite amount. But for high-end salons or anybody that really needs to fill a space from a cancellation, if you can send that out at the push of a button, someone's going to take that you might not have even gotten around to calling from. So it's highly beneficial from that standpoint. And we know that actually it's 91% of text messages are read within the first minute. And an email can sit in somebody's box. I mean, that happens to me all the time. I'll sign up for something, and it was a webinar. Maybe I forgot to hook it up to Outlook, and I go back, and I really wanted to see this thing. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go back there, or maybe they recorded it for me, and they didn't. And I'm a little disturbed why they didn't record that for me, because I record everything. But so I'm like, darn, I missed that webinar. It was a week ago. Okay, but had they sent me a text message and said it's coming up in 15 minutes, you really increase your participation rate and the amount of people that are going to show up to your seminars and your webinars. And I know that to be true because I did have another guy who would always send me a message, and I almost got irritated with him. But he was doing a lot of seminars, a lot of webinars. So it can be more than just about spreading offers. You can use it to inform customers about new products or services, or if it's an event that's going on. So you've probably all seen text messages from an array of different offers, whether it's a coupon or an announcement, or we have something new going on. So you can really get really creative with your text messaging. Obviously, it's limited amount of characters, so you have to be careful with that, depending on what type of phone the person has. And if you want to send them somewhere, just make sure that the link that you're sending them is going to work into a good site. So you want to include your business name. So if I've texted somebody and I've opted into their list, but I don't know who it is, and they send me something back, it's like, hey, and I've had that happen. Somebody called me, and I didn't have their number stored, and they called me again. They're like, hi, Angie, and I'm like, who are you? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I haven't had a chance to store your name. So it's a really good idea that you always include who you are. And then you do have to have the option for them to opt out of the text so that you are just with the, same with the Canned Spam Act. So you have to be able to let them stop and get out and not offend them and stay within all the legalities. And you can really tie text messaging into all of your other marketing tools as well. So if you do still want to have an email campaign, we know that the text is going to drive higher response, a higher open rate for your email campaigns as well. So mobile apps. Everybody's thinking mobile apps are so sexy, and do I need one? Well, I don't know. Do you? There were 1 million apps downloaded last year, but I think it was like 85% of those got nothing out of it. Just people wanted their own app, but they didn't really understand what the point to it was, or what they would do with it, or maybe somebody just wanted to make some money and build them an app. So you really have to have a game plan if you're going to have an app and figure out what is it going to do for you. So these are the top, there's an 11 there instead of a 10. So these are the top 10 things that were downloaded last year that people used. So money transfer, makes sense. Location-based services, makes sense. So, because we know that mobile is hooked to local. Mobile search, mobile browsing, mobile health monitoring, mobile payments, and near-field communication. That's one that I'm really excited about. And with a couple of years, I think we'll see more and more of that. We know that there's just a couple of companies so far that have adopted that, and with Google Wallet, and Starbucks is using it, and a few others. So I think that's something to really keep your eye on. I'm looking for companies that, if I was ever going to invest in something at the beginning, I think that's going to be really big. The prediction is by 2014 that'll be really much more mainstream. Mobile advertising, it's so much cheaper to do a mobile ad. And one quick caveat with mobile advertising, if people who are doing AdWords on a desktop, if their website is not optimized for mobile, then their quality score is going to go down for their AdWords campaigns. So they really have to be aware of that. So if you're sending somebody to your site and people don't see it, or if they're accessing you, and again, that's where you want to check your analytics and see what's going on. So it will drop your quality score. The other thing though is that it's a lot cheaper. So if I think there's some attorneys that are paying $30 on a desktop click, but it's only $20 on a mobile phone. So a little more cost effective. And then you can also run ads like for a penny on AdMob. So lots of potential there for people who want to get into advertising. And people are putting more and more spend now into their mobile ads. And then mobile IM and mobile music. So things that we would already expect to see with mobile apps. So a few little extra things. We know that in a few years there's hundreds of millions of people already on Facebook that reached a billion, right? So now we're expecting to see several hundred million every year. There are already like 300 million using Facebook on their mobile phones. For video, YouTube Mobile has 400 million views a day. So it's a great way to integrate your video marketing with mobile as well. And we know that the predictions are that video are going to be 90% of the traffic here shortly as well. So again, mobile ads, really cost effective, and just whichever of these that you can implement, I always tell people to take it one step at a time so that they can get familiar with sort of one area of their campaign and see what's working. So you can be more personal with your marketing. It's far more enticing than other forms of marketing, and you can really reach your customers where they're at because everybody has their phones. So what we covered was visibility and brand loyalty, mobile websites, and that's just hugely important. I really tried to drive that point home. Mobile directories, QR codes, text messaging, mobile apps, and then our little extras. And that is it. So if you have a question, you have to answer. So probably went a little faster than what I needed to go, but no questions, just a great job.
So where does Twitter fit into the way you break down?
Well, Twitter's always been sort of the favorite with mobile, right? So the thing with it is that there's less people on Twitter. So I like Twitter, but I like all social media platforms. But I still put everybody on Twitter. It's still accessed through mobile phones. It's just, it's still a fight between, are you going to access Twitter, are you going to access Facebook? So, it's really user preference. But, I still I don't recommend Twitter for all of my clients because, frankly, they don't understand how to use it most of the time.
Do you often have to choose between them, or to some clients you go, oh no, do Twitter and Facebook and like 3 others too?
It depends on the industry and the client. So I have an education company that works with military spouses, military spouse program. So these military spouses get free money to take online courses, to take in-demand career training programs. We get so much more traffic from Twitter than we do from Facebook, so it's a great platform for them, right? But there's other companies that it hasn't worked out so well with. So it's like, okay, and it depends on if I'm handling their campaign or if they're gonna handle their campaign.
Right.
And they really have to understand how to get engaged. So if they start with it, but then they don't, like this IT company that I worked with, I was trying to explain that to them. I was like, okay, I can do this, but in a limited format because I can only talk so much MCSE speak. People are going to say things that I can't possibly answer. And I do know a lot about it. I can talk to you about some hardware-independent imaging, but really highly technical stuff, they're going to have to jump in and answer. And if you're not prepared to do that, if you just leave that question out there in the wild, it's not going to help you. So it's easy to identify the users. It's a little more difficult getting people to engage with the users. So, you know, I like Twitter because it's easier to you can find a following base a little bit easier than you can in Facebook. Instead of going in and joining groups and running ads and all this, there's different ways to use it. So
it also seems like a lot of companies have like lurkers now, and anytime that their business name comes up, like I'm bummed about this or I'm happy about that, or whether you're following them or not, they're mining all that information if they've got like a dedicated tool or person.
Right, and you can set that up. It's just like setting up a Google alert. So what you can do is, and there's a lot of people, some of the bigger companies that have really adopted Twitter as their customer service tool.
Right.
So
it seems to be like not on the prospective side, but on the reactionary side.
Exactly. Yeah. If somebody says something negative about you, you wouldn't go in and address it. And I've done that. You know, nobody contacted me. I was really mad when and I said it for about a couple of. I'm like, I was mad at my credit card going. But then they called and they made it right. So, and I had that tweet scheduled. I was like sending it out constantly. I wasn't just going to say it once. I was like, beware, you know. Or I was like, capital one. Here's what happened. This is the funniest story. It's like, how can you say this? So I would have one of those annual fees, and I paid my credit card off every month. So they weren't even making any interest off me. So I probably wasn't a great customer for them. But every year I would call and say, hey, never been late, you know, never been over my limit, not even close to my limit. So, you know, oh yeah, we love you, you know, we'll just erase that fee. I'm like, great. So after about like the 5th year, I think it was, I call in, you know, here's my annual call, a Capital One, asking for you to waive that annual fee or reverse it. And the woman was like, oh no, we can't do that. I'm like, well, you can, because, you know, you can. That, you know, like can't or won't, there's a difference there, number one. But I said, okay, let me talk to the supervisor. So I get another guy on the phone, and he's like, oh no, we can't do it. I'm like, you've done it for several years in a row. And he's like, well, it's our policy now, because, you know, all the financial mess. So now they're gonna charge me the annual fee. I said, well, then I'm gonna go to another credit card company that doesn't have an annual fee. And they're like, okay, well, if you leave, then we have to reverse the charge. I'm like, do you understand what you're saying? Yeah. You're going to lose me as a customer. You're going to lose me as a customer, and then you're going to reverse the fee. But you won't reverse the fee to keep me as a customer. He said, yes, that's right. And so that's exactly what happened. And not only that, but I had all these reward points. So I knew I had to pay off my card before I canceled it. So I used my reward points to pay off my card, cancel it, and they gave me the money back. And I'm just like, it was just, you know, come on, people. I understand that I just could not understand that business decision, but so.
So did your tweet go out?
Oh, over and over again.
Over and over again.
Yeah. You talk. It's like, I have a scheduler for Twitter, but so it's like, yeah, there's some things I say over and over again when I really want to hit my point home. So that was one of them. And then finally, you know, I got mad at somebody else once too, and I was sending something out, and I had that scheduled like every week. That was going out. Bless you. But then they called me and they made it right, so I took it out.
And in both cases, was it because you're upset?
Yeah.
That they called you?
Well, but on the flip side, though, when somebody does something really good, I'm also really good about that. So I will go out and give somebody props when they do something extraordinary, and or even if it's not extraordinary. You know, I don't expect extraordinary from people anymore. I kind of lowered my bar, but you would like for people to, you know, have extraordinary, but. I'll do that, you know, or it's like, like on reviews, and my son, I have an 11-year-old son, and he's so used to this now. We were at California Pizza Kitchen and had a fabulous time. The food was great, the service was great. They could have overcharged me and I probably still would have been happy because everything was so good. Then we go somewhere else and it was completely mediocre. And I'm like, you know, and I had said I'm gonna go put a review up for California Pizza Kitchen, which I did. So then we're somewhere else. I'm like, you know, this is just really mediocre. I'm gonna go put up a review about this. And I'd been someplace else that I'll never even go back to, and I put up a review about that. So now we go into, I think it's the new Dunkin' Donuts, you know, up on the northwest side of Oklahoma McGee. And they messed up our order. We're sitting eating, they forgot my son's sandwich. And we're sitting at the table, he goes, Mom, what kind of review are you gonna put up about them? So, you know, he's starting young, you know, at 11 years old, and he's already getting it, so. And that's the thing that people still need to be aware of, because the the younger demographic, as they come in, I was talking to another company that didn't care about how bad their online reputation was. You really need to, because not everybody's going to know your name. The people that are 20 now that are shopping for your product, your brand doesn't matter to them. You know, they're online, they're checking with their friends, and we know when people read reviews, they're really influenced by those reviews now. But they're like, yeah, we just don't care. So, wow, that's really too bad.
So, what kind of things can you do to reverse the trend of people bad-mouthing your company, say online? My own personal experience, I'm more likely to leave a bad review for somebody than I am a good review.
Right.
How do you go about reversing that trend? Is it like you're saying, put out, hey, here's a review card kind of a thing?
Yeah, it's a couple of different things. So that's reputation management. So it's dependent on each company on what they can do. For instance, somebody that has no reviews, I can help them. I do have a client that had a lot of negative stuff. Nothing good, He didn't know, and he goes, and I feel bad because he's a nice person, but he just didn't know that all this was out there. And unfortunately, it's like you said, the people with bad experiences are much more likely to go up and put the reviews. So what you have to do is you have to educate the company on how to solicit good reviews from their happy customers. So we implemented a campaign for him earlier in the year, and unfortunately, all you can really do is drown out those other reviews. So there's only so many that you can see on a page. So as you start soliciting reviews from your happy customers, those are going to be bumped off to page 2. And then the other thing you really want to do is respond to those reviews. So he went in and did that. So the review companies are not going to remove a bad review for the most part, unless it's like some hate thing.
Right.
But otherwise, I had another company who had a review from California, one of the California stores, but they're here in Tucson. And we contacted Yelp and we said, would you please, look, this isn't even the right store. And they said, no, they wouldn't even put it on the right one, but they couldn't, because it was the user who did that. And this was a company that ran a Groupon. They made $60,000 from this one Groupon because they sold them all this solar stuff. A couple of months later, they went to run another Groupon, and Groupon turned them down because they got one more Yelp review and that lowered their score. So because of that, they couldn't even run another Groupon. So the money they potentially missed from that was huge.
Right.
So what I tell people is always go in and respond to your negative reviews, because even if you can't please that customer, the people that are reading it are going to see that you care. So that's still going to hold a lot of weight, because we know we can't please everybody. But then again, you can do a number of different things. You can hand out review cards. You can have your little QR code where you're sending someone somewhere. You can put it in your newsletter. There's a lot of different things you can do. And then if you can't get people, I've had people that have had problems with this. It's like, well, because you can't get in their face too much, right? So it's like, hey, you said you'd put a review up and you didn't, So if you're sending them somewhere, like I'll give letters that they can send out, or emails that they can send out, or review cards at their place of business. And sometimes it's just a matter of they have a bunch of testimonials already, and I'll put those on the site. And we'll ask permission for that customer if we can post that review on their behalf. And we'll go do that.
Okay.
So that way, it kind of alleviates that problem. And Google's actually changing that too. It used to be that you had to be logged in to your Google account to leave a review. And that was a problem. So the whole review process, it used to be they would aggregate all the different review companies. And then Yelp got mad, and so they changed everything around. So now your Google star rating only goes by the reviews that are on Google. And I had previously told people, hey, try to get reviews all over the place. Now I always tell them, try to get 5 on Google in 30 days. And I had a client that said, well, my customers just they're not that technical. They're not that technical. And I even screencasted it for him and sent him a little screencast. I'm like, here, this is how you leave a Google review. And he's like, yeah, they're going to have to go sign up for a Google account first, and that's just too much for them. Because he had an older demographic. And I said, okay. And I think Google is becoming aware of that a little bit more too. So now they're going to change it, if they haven't already, that you don't have to be logged in or create an account to go leave a review on Google, which will be huge.
Right. I can definitely see where people that are happy aren't going to take the extra trouble, whereas people that are upset will absolutely, they'll cut off their nose to spite their face.
Right. Everybody. Yeah, there's this company I was talking to this weekend. They were scathing. It there's a car company who was like, I would rather live with that noise in my car for the rest of my life than go back there. I'm like, well, it's like, I'd rather go to Phoenix. And, one called him the devil. And I was like, you might want to address that. But they're like,
Yeah, I wonder what company that is.
but it was the things people will say. Now, the review sites will say, don't let anybody give you an incentive, but everybody does. So it's like I have people that'll say, hey, leave us a review and you'll get $5 off your next service, or some people give them a Starbucks card, or whatever it is. So, and I think an incentive is okay personally, because if they've already had a happy experience, you're just kind of, it's like, please go do this for me. So it gives them a little more incentive to do it if you can offer them something. So ask them once, and if they don't do it, then maybe give them an incentive. But some I have an insurance agent, they're regulated. So he can't.
Right.
He can't offer an incentive. So it's going to be, well, just see who will, we don't have any reviews for him yet there either. So, but we'll keep working on his.
Like the drug companies anymore, they can't go into the doctor's offices and bribe them with lunches.
Right. Well, and a financial advising company that I'm trying to help, and they're so regulated by the SEC with what they can do. It's going to be very difficult to get any campaign going for them because they only have a certain amount of material they can use. So their hands are kind of tied, but. So I'm trying to find some creative ways to help them.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You mentioned Groupon. Is Groupon now part of your repertoire, you might say?
No.
Yeah.
I don't ever recommend Groupon to anybody.
Yeah.
Personally.
So that's my question.
Because, just the horror stories that I've heard from.
Right.
People that
the only reason I ask is because you just told the success story, and I think that's the only one I've ever heard, which then turned bad. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think if people are using Groupon almost as a last-ditch effort too, and unfortunately, it's not going to save their business most likely because you really have. Now, if they're going to do it, I can at least show them how to capture their customers' information so that they're going to get some repeat business. If they could implement that with a text campaign. So that next time they're not tied to somebody else, but
being tied to Groupon.
Right, and like what we're starting is mobile daily deals, and it'll be a system similar to Groupon, but I'm not going to take somebody's lunch money. I mean, I don't want somebody to go out of business because they're working with me. I want to actually help them. So we'll be here. Here's a group of people who want a deal.
Yeah, because often I'll see those Groupons and I'm like, I'm not going to take this deal because I'm just going to help put this company.
Right,
that's a business.
Yeah.
So
They're actually people that I would
it's
go
weird,
target.
You can Groupon and no, not this one.
Yeah, I've had a couple people tell me they've had a lot of success with Living Social, and I thought they were the same, but
I thought it was Living Social and became Groupon.
Oh no, it's two different. Yeah, there's two different ones. There's Living Social, there's Groupon, there's the entertainment deal now. And then there's Google's daily deal. So, and I don't think it's here in Tucson yet. They rolled out in Portland last year, and I know they're in they might be in Phoenix by now. They're not quite here yet. So, did you have a question?
What's the average cost for just a small business who needs to just make that jump from, they maybe have their own website already, but they kind of need a mobile optimized site. It's just the basics, like my name, my address,
It depends. Our charge is $4.97. But one thing that I tell people that they're not aware of is Google, on December 15th, Google announced that they're serving up device-specific results. So, some people didn't even have a site that could be read on a phone. Some people, if you have a WordPress site, at least you can have a mobile plugin for it. There's one called WP Touch. And now they're serving up device-specific results. So what that means is they're going to give preference to sites that were built for the mobile platforms. So you want to be sure that whatever platform you're using, that it's built cross-platform. So it's not just for Droid, it's not just for iPhone. So make sure it's tested and that it works on everything. So, and yeah, if there's basic ones, and those are kind of the questions you want to ask. So is it going to work on every platform? How many times has it been tested? And the one we use, when I'm talking to people about mobile apps, because everybody thinks they kind of need one, I'm like, well, what are you going to do with it? Oh, we don't know, but we just need one. I'm like, well, maybe you don't, Let's really see about that. Let's see if we can save you some money. So the platform that we specifically use has the opportunity to, or the ability to convert a mobile website into a web icon app, so that when somebody's accessing your site, if it's an iPhone, a little bubble will pop up and say, hey, save this to your home screen. So it turns it right into an app like that. You know, so that way it's right there, kind of branding. And then with Droid, it works a little different. You have to bookmark it first and all that. So it's just basically the functionality you need. I mean, there's some free ones out there. The other thing you have to look at is hosted versus self-hosted. So if you have one built that you're going to host yourself, you have to make sure that you have the time and are prepared to put in all the updates. So I looked at a lot of different platforms before I picked the one that we're using. And even though they're hosted sites, it's updated twice a month. And in fact, I was just building a site the other day, and I was looking at it on my Droid, and I couldn't see it. And I called him, I'm like, hey, what's going on? I can see it on my daughter's Droid, but I can't see it on mine. I'm like, oh, you know what? There was an update to that phone. By the end of the night, it worked. So if you have typically a hosted site, all those updates are going to be done for you, and that'll be included in your hosting charge. So it's a lot nicer than having to go in, and you don't have to worry about, am I updated for this platform, or do I have to go in and update? Because we know there's going to be devices that come into the market all the time that they're slightly different. So that's the one thing that you want to keep an eye on.